Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, it's time to look at a new Haxorus card. And ladies and gentlemen, as it stands at the moment, we don't have a legal Haxorus card. The most recent Haxorus card was in Breakthrough. It got rotated out in September, so it's kind of nice that we can have ourselves a Haxorus here. And I like this. This is a pretty gosh darned nice Haxorus. So, what does it actually do? Well, our translations come from the lovely David Hochmann over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. And if we start off with the basics, it's got a pretty beefy 150 HP. It's not quite as high as some stage 2s like Dragonite, but it's still pretty high. In terms of retreat cost, it's got a retreat cost of 3, which is just too low to use buff padding, which is sad. Weakness to fairies, not really that big a deal. Gardevoir GX will KO more easily, but Sylveon and Gardevoir, or Gardevoir and Sylveon, they would have got a one-hit KO anyway, because they're doing a base 150, so you know. And being a dragon Pokemon, you're not hitting anything for weakness, but you do have Devoured Field, and you can use Lance Prism Star. And Lance Prism Star, when you have a Pokemon KO'd, the next turn, it is a Prism Star, so it's once per deck. Search your deck for up to 2 Dragon Pokemon and put them onto your bench. That does include Stage 2s like Haxorus, just straight onto the bench, so you can get this out more easily. Incidentally, Dragonite GX also has a GX attack, which allows you to essentially cheat this onto the field. But what does it actually do? Well, the ability here says once during your turn you may discard a stadium in play, then attach free fire or metal energy from your hand to this Pokemon. It's extra energy acceleration. It's actually very much like Zinnia. Zinnia is a supporter card that came around a little while ago in Dragon Majesty. And like Lance, you had to have a Pokemon KO during your opponent's last turn, but you got to attach 2 basic energy from your hand to one of your Dragon Pokemon. This is free, though it can only be fire and metal, and it can only be 2 Haxorus. The thing is, with this being fire energy, that actually really helps us out a lot. But before we get to that, we should have a talk about the fact that you're discarding a stadium. Now, on the one hand, this means that there has to be a stadium in play. It's kind of like Primal Groudon, which could do 200 damage, but it only did so if you discarded a stadium, otherwise you did 100 damage, which was significantly worse. But people manage with Primal Groudon just fine. Play for Devoured Field. Play stuff like Shrine of Punishment, because you're a non-GX and it puts 1 damage counter on EXs and GXs between turns. What, of course, is a pain is that when you use the ability, you discard the stadium, which means you don't actually get to do the extra 10 damage with Devoured Field unless you put a new one down. You don't actually get the 10 damage on EXs and GXs between turns unless you put a new one down. So this is all a little bit of a pain. You can just play whatever stadiums you want, of course. Just make sure you've got some down. The thing is, a lot of the time you're not going to have to worry, because your opponent is going to have a stadium down. And the best use for this, or one of the best uses for this, is your Prism Star stadiums. Stuff like Thunder Mountain, which reduces the attack cost of lightning Pokemon by 1 lightning energy. And especially Black Market Prism Star, which means that Darkness Pokemon with Darkness energy attached give up 1 fewer prize. Use this, get rid of it, and then they don't get the benefit of it, but because it is a Prism Star stadium, they don't get to get it back. Now, there is a Marshadow coming in the next set, which is also really good at getting rid of stadiums. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon is on your bench, you may discard a stadium in play, and then discard Marshadow. So Marshadow is pretty good at getting rid of stadiums, but Haxorus is as well. The thing is, if you're just playing stadium hate, you want to go Marshadow. Haxorus is good for discarding stadiums, but it's a bonus, it's not a reason to play Haxorus. But let's get back to this whole attaching free energy from your hand. Now, metal's all well and good, and one of the stadiums you really want here is Mount Coronet, because Mount Coronet lets you pick up 2 metal Pokemon from your discard pile and put them into your hand. That's pretty tasty. It means that you can basically guarantee that you've got 2 metal Pokemon every turn. That's wonderful. And you could even, if you wanted here, go Shuckle, play Shuckle onto your bench, discard the metal Pokemon, and then pick them up using Mount Coronet. That could work. But as a fire Pokemon, we're also going to have Fire Crystal, which lets you pick up free fire energy from your discard and put them into your hand. Again, you could use Shuckle here to discard them. And now we're actually loving this, because it's not just that you can attach an extra free energy during your turn. That is nice, but we need to have the energy. But between Fire Crystal for fire energy and Mount Coronet for metal energy, we're actually doing really, really well here. Now, in the same set, we looked at this before, we're actually getting Giant Furnace, a stadium card, and again, we want to be playing a lot of stadiums here, which allows you to discard a card from your hand, and then search your deck for 2 fire energy and put them into your hand. So you can actually use Giant Furnace here, search for 2 energy, then use your ability to discard Giant Furnace, and attach those 2 energy plus 1 more. My point is that this is a good ability in and of itself for attaching extra energy. But between Fire Crystal, Giant Furnace, Mount Coronet, etc., I could also pop Fiery Flint out there, we've got really good ways to accelerate energy into your hand, and then you can accelerate them onto Haxorus. So we like the ability, but we need to actually have an attack here, or else this is kind of pointless. Well, the attack for 1 fire and 1 metal energy does 10 damage, plus 40 more for each energy attached to this Pokemon. So generally speaking, you should be able to get 4 energy attached to this, free with the ability and once during your turn. Incidentally, right, the ability is only turned off by slacking, so the chances are this ability is going to be fine. You're going to keep this ability rolling. Well, if you've got 4 energy on, that's a flat 170 to begin with. That's Tapu Lele. That's 2 prizes. Or that's Dedenne for 2 prizes. But then you add a choice band, you're up to 200, and that's everything from Lycanroc on down getting KO'd. But then, of course, we can play Shrine of Punishment. Now, you have to time this right, of course, because you need to discard the stadium, put Shrine of Punishment down to come in after your turn, and then that can be what you discard next turn. But then you're doing 200 and Zoroark goes down. Now, I am only talking about using your ability and attaching from your hand so that you've got 4 energy on, you're doing 170. Because actually, you could maybe get more energy on there. Because if you've got a 5th energy on, then all of a sudden you're doing 210, which is Zoroark straight away, plus Choice Band is 240, and then Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX goes down in 1 hit. And then, of course, you can start adding your Shrine of Punishment on top of that. Because one of the cards I really like with this is Welder. Welder's coming out in Unbroken Bonds, and it lets you attach 2 fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon, and then draw 3 cards. The thing is, we're already playing a bunch of fire energy to attach to Haxorus using the ability. And we're using Fire Crystal to grab it out the discard, and Giant Furnace and Fiery Flint to grab it out the deck. So we're already playing a strategy where we've got a bunch of fire energy and we're trying to make sure we can get it into our hand to attach it. So Welder just lets you attach an extra 2. So now it's really not that unlikely that you can get 5 energy attached to Haxorus without even attaching for the turn. 2 for Welder, 3 for the ability, and then you can even put the energy that you get to attach for your turn onto a different Pokemon. I really like this. I think the ability is great. I think the amount of damage you can do is great. And it's 150 HP single prize Pokemon. It could get stressful if you're constantly popping a whole bunch of energy down onto Haxorus, and then Haxorus goes and gets KO'd and you lose all the energy. But that unfortunately is a risk you have to take here. It is not the weakest Pokemon ever. And if this was something like Fighting Energy and, I don't know, Fairy Energy, maybe I wouldn't like this so much. But the fact of the matter is, Metal Energy you've got Mount Coronet, and Fire Energy you've got Giant Furnace, Fiery Flint and Fire Crystal. We have got really good ways to get the energy out. And I'm not talking about stuff like Lady that lets you search your deck for 4 energy, because that's your supporter for the turn. You're not going to want to play Lady. So don't play Lady. We've got better options. I am going to hesitantly and probably over-enthusiastically award Haxorus 4 Wassies. I know it's a stage 2 and that's a little bit awkward, but you can cheat with Lance, or you can just use stuff like a Alolan Ninetales to get your stage 2s like everybody else is nowadays. But once you've got it out, you've got good ways to get the energy into your hand, you can cheat it onto Haxorus and then do a lot of damage, and I think that makes this a good Pokemon. But I would very much like to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. But please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about other games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.